Well, we had been talking about getting married for several months, especially after going through the deployment to Afghanistan and coming back.
So we got married a few months later. That was September, December. We had a miscarriage. There weren't a lot of answers. They didn't really know what was going on, but we miscarried.
Oh man, I felt helpless. Us as men, the natural thing to do is fix. I couldn't fix it, and I hurt for her.
Over the next almost 2.5 years, we did not have another pregnancy. During those 2.5 years, God put so many people in our lives. So we had like 3 different couples in our life group that once we opened up had already gone through fertility treatments or miscarriage after miscarriage or whatever it may be. Seeing all the blessings, all the things that God had given us, and I was like, why? Why am I so focused on the one thing I don't have when He has given us so much?
To see her struggle month after month, it's just heartbreaking.
I had accepted that we may never have our own children, and I was okay with it. This load had been lifted off, and I was like, God, you're in control. A mission trip to Honduras in February of 2014. While we were there was another group from another church from Houston. I was going to a fertility doctor at this point, and we were going to continue pursuing getting pregnant, but we also decided that adoption was the route that we wanted to also pursue. So I had to have a couple surgeries, and then finally it was like, okay, we can attempt to conceive naturally. Nothing happened.
And it's crazy that when you get together with other people, we're all kind of going through a lot of the same things, and it was cool how we could help each other through that.
On March 10th, Josh was in here having a men's group, and I was in the room watching Netflix, and we got a message on Facebook from a girl that was on with the other church on the mission trip. At this point, it's like 9-something at night, call her, and she was kind of stumbling over a word, and she was like, but I'm just gonna say it. We have a family friend who moved in with us recently who's pregnant and doesn't want the baby. Are y'all interested? That night, I asked Josh, I was like, should we hold off on trying to get pregnant? He was like, no, if we get pregnant, we get pregnant, and we're also gonna have a beautiful baby girl that's gonna be born a little bit before. Tana called, and she was like, I hate to call and tell y'all this, but her family is very much against the adoption, so it's not looking like it's gonna happen.
It's hard not to get emotional about this stuff.
I was on my way to work, and I finally on the way, I was like, you know what, God, we need to have a conversation. I was like, I'm asking you for a child. We don't care what way the child comes, whether it's through adoption, whether we have our own, whether we move to Africa and we run an orphanage. We don't care. Like, we just want a family. And so I got to work, and about 30 minutes after I got to work, Tana called me back and said, Sydney's back on board. She wants to do the adoption. As April went on, the end of April, I took a pregnancy test just because, and I was pregnant. Well, that was the very end of April, and the next weekend, Tana called at like 10, and she was like, hey, Sydney's in labor. This is insane. Like, okay.
I feel so blessed that Evie came first, because unconditional love is, it's hard to imagine what that is before having children.
We had found out a week before from our lawyers how much this whole adoption was going to cost, and through the private adoption, you have to pay the entire amount by the time that the baby's born. The lawyers called and they were like, so when are you gonna be able to give us the rest of the money? And I kid you not, 3 minutes later, we get a text message from someone in our life group. The text message said, we talked last night and we'd like to give y'all the rest of the money that you owe on the adoption. And we brought her home, and she's been healthy. There's been no problems. She's beautiful. And then we had another little baby girl in December, only by God. When we give our burdens and give everything to God, He is there. We're not hearing what He's saying because it's not what we want to hear sometimes.
As they ever go through struggles, I want them to hopefully, from this story, learn that we went through the same thing when it came to bringing them into our life. And whatever struggles they go through, hopefully they'll reach a point where they give it to God, they have peace with God, they get out of His way and let Him move